AITA for cutting my brother off after he called me a freeloader at Christmas? I'm Gabriel, 46, a man who learned early that being quiet made people assume I had nothing to say. In my family, quiet also meant convenient. My older brother Preston was the one everyone pointed to when they wanted proof that our parents had raised a winner. Preston had the polished Christmas cards, the framed family photos, the big dining room table, the nice car in the driveway, and the kind of voice that made relatives nod before he even finished a sentence. I had a smaller life on purpose. I lived simply, kept my finances clean, and did not need applause for every bill I paid. That suited me until my family started treating my silence like an empty space they could fill with whatever story made Preston look better. For years, that story was that Preston was the family man, the provider, the responsible one, the son who built something. I was the younger brother who kept to himself, the one my mother described as not very settled, even though she never said what that meant. The one my father would pat on the shoulder and say, "You'll figure it out one day," as if my life was some unfinished project. The one Aunt Carol once told, after 2 glasses of wine, "It's good you still come around. Family gives people purpose." I used to laugh that kind of thing off. It was easier. I told myself people were allowed to misunderstand me. I told myself correcting them would only make me look bitter. What almost nobody knew was that Preston's beautiful picture stayed standing because I had been quietly paying for pieces of it for years. It started small, the way these things always do. The first time Preston called me for money, he sounded embarrassed. Not fake embarrassed, either. Real embarrassed, at least that was how I heard it then. His voice was low, like Melissa might overhear him from the next room. "Gabe, I hate even asking," he said. "I'm short on the electric this month. Just timing. I've got money coming in, but it's not going to clear before Friday." "How much?" I asked. 300 and change. I'll send it back next week." He had kids. Dylan was little then, and his sister was even younger. I pictured them in a dark house because 2 adults had fallen behind on timing, and I paid it through the utility portal. Preston sent me a text with a thumbs up and, "You saved me, man. I'll make it right." He did not make it right, but I did not press him. It was one bill. Then it was car insurance. Then it was a water bill that got lost in the mail, even though everything was electronic. Then a repair after their furnace quit. Then a mortgage catch-up payment after Preston said the bank had made an error with escrow and he needed to avoid a late mark. Each request had a reason. Each reason sounded temporary. Each payment came with some version of the same line. "I swear this is the last time. I just need a bridge. The kids can't be caught in the middle of this. I'm not asking anyone else because I don't want Mom worrying." That last part always worked on me. Our parents, Richard and Elaine, treated embarrassment like a medical emergency. My mother could survive actual bad news better than she could survive people knowing about it. My father had a whole set of speeches about pride, dignity, and the family name, even though most of his advice seemed to land on me and not on Preston. By the 3rd year of temporary help, Preston no longer sounded embarrassed. He sounded rushed. "Can you handle the gas before the 12th? Did Melissa send you the car lease link? Insurance renewals due Monday. Just this cycle." Sometimes Melissa texted instead. Her messages were always softer. "Hi Gabe, I'm sorry to bother you. Can you cover electric before Friday? The portal is the same. Please don't mention it at dinner. Preston is really stressed." Another time it was, "Would you be able to do the school activity balance this week? I know it's not your responsibility, but Dylan was really looking forward to the trip." There it was, "Not your responsibility," followed by a child's name. I paid because the kids were real. The late fees were real. The embarrassment, for a while, felt preventable. I told myself I was not helping Preston perform. I was helping my nephew and niece live inside a stable house while their parents figured things out. Except they never figured things out. They just figured out me. Preston's public life got louder as his private dependence got deeper. He posted photos of the house every holiday. Matching pajamas. A wreath the size of a tire. The kids by the fireplace. The leased car in the driveway with some caption about grateful for hard work and blessings. One December night, he posted a picture of the front of the house glowing with lights. The family group chat filled up fast. Aunt Carol wrote, "Preston, this looks like a magazine." My mother added, "So proud of the home you've built." Preston replied, "A lot of sacrifice, but that's what family men do." That same night, 9 minutes later, Melissa texted me, "Can you handle electric before Friday? I'll send the login again if needed. Please don't mention it to your parents." I remember sitting there with my phone in my hand, staring at Preston's family man message above Melissa's electric bill request. I almost typed something in the group chat. Something small, like, who paid for the lights? I did not. I paid the bill and saved the confirmation email without knowing why. That was around the time I started noticing things I had been trying not to notice. Preston did not ask anymore. He assigned. Melissa did not apologize anymore. She coordinated. My parents did not wonder how Preston kept catching up. They just called me when it was time for me to catch him. My mother would say, "Your brother has a lot on his shoulders." I would say, "Then why am I carrying the bills?" She would sigh like I had disappointed her. "Don't make him feel like he failed." One time I asked, "Why is it fine for everyone to make me feel like I did?" She was quiet for a second, then said, "Gabriel, this is not about pride." It was always about pride. Just never mind. My father had his own version. Brothers don't keep ledgers, he told me after Preston had fallen behind on insurance, and my mother had somehow made that my emergency. "I'm not keeping a ledger," I said. "I'm noticing a pattern." "Money comes and goes," he said. "Family doesn't." "Family shouldn't only call when money is going," I said. He did not laugh. Neither did I. The first real crack came a few weeks before Christmas in Preston's driveway. I had stopped by to drop off a birthday card for Dylan. He was 13 by then, all elbows and awkward honesty, old enough to hear things but not old enough to understand what adults were doing with them. Preston was not home. Melissa was inside on the phone, so Dylan walked me back toward my car. He kicked at a pebble on the driveway and asked, "Uncle Gabe, are you poor?" It was such a kid question, so blunt and innocent, that I almost smiled. "No," I said. "Why?" He looked uncomfortable right away, like he had repeated something he was not supposed to repeat. "Dad said you never really built anything." I felt that one behind my ribs, but I kept my voice even. "He said that?" Dylan nodded. "But Mom said you paid the house people, so I didn't get it." "The house people?" He shrugged. "Like the people for the house. The payment thing. Mom said not to talk about it." For a second, I did not hear the neighborhood, the car passing behind me, the wind moving through the bare branches. I only saw this kid trying to reconcile two adult lies. His dad said I was broke. His mom said I paid the house people. And somehow he was standing in the middle, confused. I put a hand on his shoulder. "Buddy, adult money problems are not yours to worry about." "So you're not poor?" "No." "And you're not mad?" "Not at you," I said. "Never at you." He nodded, but he still looked unsure. That bothered me more than anything Preston had ever said. That night, I went home and created a folder on my laptop called Preston Payments. At first, I told myself it was for my own records. Nothing dramatic, just organization. I downloaded bank transfer PDFs, bill pay confirmations, Zelle screenshots, utility receipts, mortgage confirmation emails Preston had forwarded when he needed help logging in, car lease invoices from Melissa, insurance renewal notices, a voicemail transcription where Preston said, "If this mortgage hits late, Mom and Dad are going to lose it, so just help me get through this." I made subfolders. Mortgage confirmations. Utilities. Car lease. Insurance. Christmas screenshots. I was not planning revenge. I did not even know what I would do with it. But I finally understood why people keep records when family starts rewriting history. Then Melissa handed me the missing piece by accident. It happened 8 days before Christmas. She forwarded me a car lease confirmation and wrote, "Can you make sure the account has the right card? It's showing pending, but I don't want it to bounce." There was an attachment below the confirmation, an Excel file titled Household Catch-Up. I assumed it was part of the lease paperwork at first. Then I opened it. It was not fancy. It was not some criminal master plan. It was worse because it was ordinary. Rows and columns, due dates, categories, amounts, notes, mortgage catch-up, electric, gas, water, car lease, insurance, school activity fee, credit card catch-up, emergency repair. Next to several entries was a note. Ask G before due date. Not repay Gabriel. Not loan from Gabriel. Not temporary help. Just ask G. In one column, Melissa had marked whether a payment had been handled. In another, she had put short notes like, "Don't tell Elaine exact amount," and Preston says after bonus. There was no repayment plan column. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and felt something in me go cold and clear. The total was ugly, but it was not the total that bothered me most. It was seeing myself listed like a payment method. Mortgage, electric, gas, Gabriel. I saved the spreadsheet. Then I waited. That sounds passive, but it wasn't. I wanted to know if anyone in my family would choose decency without being cornered into it. I wanted to see if Christmas would pass with the usual awkward comments and forced peace, or if Preston had gotten so comfortable in the lie that he would say it out loud in front of everyone. The invitation came late, through my mother. Christmas at Preston and Melissa's again. 5:30. Please keep things simple this year. Don't bring anything big. Let's all just enjoy being together. That was Elaine's style. A soft message wrapped around a warning. A few minutes later, Preston posted in the family group chat. This year let's keep Christmas for people who actually help, not just people who show up hungry. There were a few laughing emojis. A cousin wrote, "Oh, Aunt Carol sent a Santa gift." I stared at the screen long enough for it to dim. Then I texted my mother privately. Do they want me there or not? She replied fast. Please don't be sensitive. Your brother is stressed. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. The family phrase that meant swallow it. I could have stayed home. I almost did. But I had already bought Dylan a small gift, a model kit he had mentioned months earlier, and his sister a book she wanted. I also had a modest hostess gift for Melissa, because some habits are hard to kill even when you know you are being used. I told myself I was going for the kids. I told myself I could sit through one dinner. I told myself maybe Preston would make one stupid joke, get it out of his system, and move on. When I pulled into the driveway Christmas evening, Preston's leased car was parked where everyone could see it. The porch lights were on. The front window glowed warm and perfect. Inside, I could hear holiday music under the noise of relatives talking. Coats were piled on the bed in the guest room. Disposable roasting pans sat near the stove. Kids were watching a Christmas movie in the den. Someone was reheating rolls, and the whole house smelled like turkey, cinnamon, and too many scented candles fighting each other. It looked beautiful. That was the problem. It always looked beautiful. Aunt Carol saw me first and pulled me into a hug. There he is, she said. We were wondering if you'd make it. Traffic was fine, I said. She lowered her voice. Not enough. Preston's really done well, hasn't he? This place. Those kids. A man can tell when another man has priorities. I looked past her at the mantle lights and remembered paying the electric bill that kept them glowing. Yeah, I said. He likes people to see that. Melissa came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. Gabe. Hi. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, I said, handing her the small hostess gift. She looked at it like it might bite her. You didn't have to. I know. Preston entered from the dining room in a sweater that looked expensive without trying to. He clapped his hands once. All right, everyone, we're about ready. Let's get seated before the food gets cold. The dining room was crowded. Extra folding chairs had been squeezed around the table. My parents were already seated near the head, my father looking pleased and my mother fussing with napkins. Dylan was near the far side, watching me with that same uncertain look from the driveway. I gave him a small nod. He smiled a little. I placed the kids' gifts near the tree and started toward an open chair. Preston looked at the gift bag, then at me. What's that? Gifts for the kids. He walked over, picked up the bag, and slid it back across the table toward me. The motion was small, almost casual. That made it worse. Real family contributes, Gabe, he said. They don't just show up when the table's full. The room quieted in pieces. First, the people closest to him stopped talking. Then the kitchen noise faded. Someone set down a serving spoon. I looked at the gift bag, then at him. Is that what you're saying I do? Preston gave a short laugh. I'm saying everyone here knows who carries weight and who just eats off it. Aunt Carol's mouth opened, then closed. One cousin looked down at his plate. Melissa stood in the doorway with a bowl in her hands, frozen. My father cleared his throat, but he did not speak. My mother stared at me with wide eyes that held a clear message. Please don't make this worse. Preston took that silence as permission. There's no room at the table for people who only appear when there's food and attention, he said. Christmas should be for real family. People who actually contribute. I felt heat move up my neck. Not because he had said something new, but because he had finally said out loud what my family had been implying for years. And every person who knew better chose that exact moment to inspect the tablecloth. Then Dylan spoke. He did not say it loudly. That was why it cut through the room. But didn't Uncle Gabriel pay for the house? The silence after that was different. Melissa's face changed first. Not shock. Recognition. Panic. My mother whispered, Dylan, Honey, don't interrupt adults. Preston snapped. Dylan. Kitchen. Now. Dylan looked at me, then at his dad. I just mean. Now, Preston said. No, I said. Everyone looked at me. I did not raise my voice. Let him finish. Elaine's hand went to her necklace. Gabriel, it's Christmas. Don't start. That sentence did something to me. Not Preston's insult. Not even Dylan's question. My mother saying, don't start, to me, when Preston had just humiliated me in a dining room full of people, told me everything I needed to know about where I stood. I looked at my father. Anything. He shifted in his chair. This isn't the time. Of course not, I said. Preston's jaw tightened. Don't twist a comment into some drama. A comment? I asked. You know what I mean. I looked around the table one more time. At Melissa, who knew about every payment. At my parents, who knew enough. At Aunt Carol, who looked confused but not innocent of enjoying the gossip before it curdled. At Dylan, who looked like he wished he could disappear. I picked up my coat from the back of the chair. You're right, I said to Preston. I should stop contributing where I'm not family. Preston blinked. What's that supposed to mean? I tucked the gift bag under my arm. You'll understand before the next due date. My mother said, Gabriel. I did not stop. I walked through the living room, past the Christmas tree, past the kids' movie paused on the screen, past the family photos where Preston stood in the middle like he had built the whole world himself. I heard chairs scrape behind me, but no adult followed me to the door. Dylan did. He stood near the hallway in socks, arms hanging at his sides. Uncle Gabe, he said, are you mad at me? That almost broke me. I crouched just enough to meet his eyes. Never. None of this is yours to carry. Dad's mad. I know. Did I say something bad? No, I said. You told the truth by accident. That's not bad. I wanted to hug him, but I did not want to make the moment heavier than it already was. So I squeezed his shoulder once and walked out. Behind me, Preston shouted something I could not make out. I kept going. The cold air on the porch felt better than that dining room. I sat in my car for maybe 30 seconds before I started it. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I had imagined that if the day ever came, I would shake or yell or cry. Instead, I drove home thinking about due dates. When I got inside, I took off my coat, placed the unopened gifts on my table, and opened my laptop. I did not cancel anything that would cut off heat or power that night. I was angry, not reckless. But I removed my saved cards from every portal I had access to. Electric, gas, water, insurance, car lease. Anywhere Melissa or Preston had sent me a login or payment link, I removed myself. I canceled scheduled transfers after the current cycle. I changed passwords where I had used my own email for confirmations. I downloaded final receipts and saved them to the folder. Then I wrote one email. Subject, household payments going forward. After what was said at Christmas dinner, I will no longer make voluntary payments toward any expense connected to Preston and Melissa's household. This includes mortgage, utilities, lease payments, insurance, repairs, school fees, credit cards, or emergency balances. Please make your own arrangements before the next due date. I will only discuss past payments in writing. Gabriel. I sent it to Preston, Melissa, Richard, and Elaine. Then I put my phone face down. It started buzzing within 2 minutes. Preston called first, then Melissa, then Preston again, then my mother, then my father, then Preston 7 more times in a row. I did not answer. Text messages came in like hail. Preston, what the hell is wrong with you? Preston, don't be dramatic. Preston, you're really going to punish my kids because your feelings got hurt? Melissa, I know Preston shouldn't have said that, but please don't do this right now. Elaine, you broke your mother's heart on Christmas. Richard, money is not how you punish blood. I read them all. I saved screenshots. Then I replied only where I needed to. To Preston, I wrote, I'm not answering calls about bills you told people you paid yourself. Put it in writing. To Melissa, I wrote, I will not pay a bill attached to a household where I am publicly called useless. To my mother, I wrote, no, I stopped paying for the illusion everyone enjoyed while I was being humiliated. To my father, I wrote, blood should not be used to disguise unpaid bills. He replied, a man helps his family without needing applause. I typed back, a man does not call another man a freeloader while spending his money. No one answered that. The next morning, I made 2 appointments. One with a financial advisor I had used before, and one with an attorney who handled personal liability and family financial disputes. I was not trying to sue anyone. I wanted to understand exactly where I stood. By the end of that week, I had a clean timeline, a printed folder, and a much calmer nervous system. The attorney looked through the documents and asked, "Are you on the mortgage?" "No." "Car lease?" "No." "Utilities?" "No. I just paid through portals when they sent them." "Any signed loan agreements?" "No." "Any written promise that you would continue paying?" "No." "Then these were voluntary payments," she said. "Expensive ones, but voluntary. If the debt is not in your name, you are not obligated to keep rescuing it." That sentence should have felt obvious. It did not. It felt like someone had opened a window in a room I had been sitting in for years. She also told me to keep everything in writing, save voicemails, avoid threats, and not access any account once I had removed my payment information unless I was authorized to do so. Clean boundaries. No games. The financial advisor told me basically the same thing in different words. "You don't want revenge," he said. "You want separation from someone else's financial life." "I want to stop being drafted into someone else's lie," I said. "Then act like it," he said. "Do not keep checking whether the lie survived." That was harder than it sounded. The first missed payment was the car lease. It happened in January because, of course, the leased car was the first thing Preston cared about. I got a text from him at 7:12 in the morning. "The car payment didn't go through. Fix it." I was drinking coffee. I read it twice, more out of habit than surprise. I replied, "No, contact the lease company." He wrote, "I need that car for my kids." I wrote, "Then you need to pay for it like you told everyone you already do." He called me immediately. I let it ring. A voicemail transcription popped up a minute later. "You think this is funny? You're going to mess up my credit over one stupid Christmas comment? Grow up, Gabe." I saved it. 2 days later, Melissa texted, "Can you cover it one last time while we figure things out? The kids have school and appointments. Preston is being impossible, but the car affects all of us." I waited 15 minutes before replying because the old part of me still wanted to solve the problem. Then I wrote, "I'm sorry the kids are affected. I'm not making the payment. Please contact the lease company." She replied, "I didn't know he told people you were the problem." I looked at that message for a long time. Then I sent her a screenshot of her own spreadsheet. The rows, the due dates, the Ask G notes. I wrote, "You knew I was paying. You knew he mocked me. You knew your spreadsheet treated me like an income source. Whether you knew every lie he told is between you two." Her answer came 20 minutes later. "I was just trying to keep things from falling apart." I wrote, "No, you were trying to keep them falling on me." She did not respond. The utility notices came next. They were not dramatic, just ordinary reminders, then late notices, then warnings. Melissa forwarded one to me without any message at all, like muscle memory. I did not reply. 2 hours later she wrote, "Sorry, sent by mistake." Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a test. Either way, I did not pay it. Preston tried a different angle after that. He went public. Not public in the social media sense, but something worse, the family group chat. The message came on a Sunday afternoon. "Preston, since Gabriel wants to punish children over dinner drama, I hope everyone sees what kind of person he is." I watched the typing bubbles appear. "Elaine, please, everyone not here." "Aunt Carol, punish children how?" "Cousin Mark, what happened?" "Preston, he cut off help he promised because I made one joke at Christmas." "Elaine, Preston, please." "Preston, no, Mom. If he wants to act righteous, people should know." I sat at my kitchen table with my folder open beside me. I had known this might happen. The attorney had told me that if a false story was spread about me, I could correct it factually without dumping every private document in the world. So I corrected it. "Gabriel, since my character is being discussed here, I'll correct the record here." No one typed for a few seconds. I posted one PDF, not the whole folder, just a summary sheet I had made for myself. It listed categories and totals by year from 2021 through Christmas: mortgage catch-up payments, utilities, car lease, insurance, repairs, school balances, credit card catch-up. It included dates, confirmation references, and whether the request came from Preston or Melissa. At the bottom, I included Preston's Christmas sentence: "Real family contributes. They don't just show up when the table's full." Then I wrote, "I made these payments voluntarily and quietly because I was told it protected the kids and prevented embarrassment. On Christmas, Preston called me a freeloader in front of the same family whose praise he accepted while I was paying these bills. I am no longer funding a story where I am the villain. For a full minute, nobody said anything. Then Aunt Carol wrote, "Wait. Preston told us you were the one always needing help." My stomach dropped, even though part of me had known. Cousin Mark wrote, "Is the mortgage column real?" I replied, "Yes." Aunt Carol wrote, "He said he had helped you with rent." I replied, "That was not true." Melissa left the group chat. Preston wrote, "You're insane for posting private family business." I replied, "If the accusation is public, the correction can be public too." My father texted me privately seconds later. "Delete that message. You're humiliating your brother." I answered, "He humiliated me at a dinner table." I corrected a lie in a chat. "Don't make him crawl," he wrote. "He made me stand up from a table I helped pay for." I wrote back. My mother called twice. I did not answer. She texted instead. "Can we please sit down as a family and clear the air? Just us. No group chat. No documents." I knew exactly what that meant. A private apology maybe, a private guilt trip definitely, and a public story left untouched. I wrote, "No private meeting will fix a public lie. If Preston wants a conversation, he can start by telling the same people he lied to that he lied." She replied, "You know how proud your father is of him." That one actually made me laugh, but not because it was funny. I wrote, "I know. That has been the problem for a long time." For the next few weeks, the family split into camps, though not neatly. Some relatives stayed quiet because it was easier. Some sent awkward messages like, "I had no idea," which I believed. Others tried to soften what Preston had done. Aunt Carol surprised me. She called, and when I did not answer, she sent a voicemail that was actually decent. "Gabe, I'm sorry. I repeated things I shouldn't have. I thought Preston was helping you. That's what I was told. I should have asked myself why you never acted like somebody being carried. I'm sorry. I saved it for a different reason than I saved Preston's." Cousin Mark texted, "For what it's worth, that summary didn't make you look bad." I wrote back, "I didn't send it to look good. I sent it to stop looking like the lie." Preston's messages got uglier as the bills stacked up. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? You always wanted to knock me down. You have no idea what it takes to raise a family. Must be nice sitting alone judging people with actual responsibilities." That last one used to work on me. The alone part. Preston knew exactly where to push. He had always treated my quieter life as proof that I had less to lose and therefore owed more to people who had children, a house, a fuller table. But a fuller table does not become a moral achievement when someone else is paying for the chairs. The car was repossessed in late February. I know because Preston left a voicemail at 6:38 in the morning, his voice shaking with rage. "You wanted everyone to see me fail? Congratulations. They took the car out of my driveway. The neighbors saw. Dylan saw. Are you happy now?" In the background, I heard a door slam and a child's voice asking, "Dad, where are they taking it?" I had to sit down. That was the hardest moment after Christmas. Not Preston yelling. Not my parents blaming me. Dylan's voice. My thumb hovered over the call button. I almost called back. I almost said I would make one payment. Just one. Just enough to get the car back. Just enough to keep Dylan from feeling ashamed at school. Then I remembered that just one was how this had become years. I remembered Dylan asking if I was poor. I remembered my mother saying, "Don't start." I remembered Preston sliding the gift back across the table. I put the phone down and saved the voicemail. Melissa texted later that day. "He's spiraling. The kids are upset. I know you're angry, but this is bigger than Christmas." I replied, "It was always bigger than Christmas. That was why I stopped." She wrote, "I don't know how to fix this." I wrote, "Start with the truth in your own house." She did not answer for 2 days. When she did, her message was different. Shorter. No smiling tone. No soft manipulation. "Dylan asked me if you stopped paying because Dad lied." I read it 3 times before replying. "What did you tell him?" "I told him adults made mistakes." I closed my eyes. "That is not the same as telling the truth," I wrote. She replied, "I know." That was the first time Melissa sounded like someone looking at the mess instead of managing it. My parents held out longer. In March, they asked me to come for dinner. My mother called it a reset. My father called it ending this nonsense. I declined both versions. My mother texted, "Can't you be the bigger person?" I wrote, "I was the bigger person when I paid quietly. You used my silence to protect the person lying about me. She wrote, we didn't know it was that much. That was the sentence I had been waiting for, because it was almost an admission. I wrote, you saw mortgage statements. You saw insurance notices. You called me when utilities were overdue. You knew enough. She did not respond for several hours. Then she wrote, I just didn't want your brother to look small. I stared at those words until the screen blurred a little. My mother had finally said it plainly. Not that she did not know. Not that she was confused. She did not want Preston to look small. I wrote back, so you let him make me look small instead. Her reply came the next morning. I'm sorry you feel that way. That was not an apology. It was a door closing. My father tried the old authority voice one more time. You made your point. Now fix it. I replied, I did not create the shortage. I stopped hiding it. He wrote, your mother can't sleep because of this. I wrote, then maybe she should talk to the son who lied, not the son who stopped paying for the lie. After that, he stopped texting for a while. The mortgage did not fall apart overnight. Nothing happened the way people imagine in revenge stories. No dramatic knock at the door the next morning. No instant foreclosure. No judge banging a gavel because I had stopped rescuing them. It arrived the way unpaid things usually do. First as late fees. Then as envelopes. Then as calls. Then as deadlines no one could charm their way around. Preston tried borrowing from relatives, but the group chat had changed the math. People asked questions now. Why was Gabriel paying it before? How far behind are you? What happened to the bonus you mentioned? Is the house actually affordable? Preston hated questions more than he hated bills. By spring, Melissa had moved from defending him to asking for numbers. I knew because she sent one message, probably against his wishes. Do you have copies of the mortgage payments you made last year? I'm trying to understand what's actually behind. I waited before answering. I did not want to become her accountant. I did not want to feed another household spreadsheet. But I also did not want her operating in the dark if Preston was still lying. So I sent only my confirmations from that year, with a note. These are records of what I paid. I won't discuss their current account status. You need to get that from the servicer directly. She replied, thank you. No apology, but no manipulation either. By early summer, the house was in serious delinquency. I heard it from Aunt Carol first, because Aunt Carol had apparently become the family's unofficial news outlet and conscience at the same time. They may have to sell, she said in a voicemail. I don't know if it's foreclosure yet, but it's bad. I'm not calling to ask you for money. I just thought you should know before someone weaponizes it. I appreciated that more than I expected. A week later, Preston showed up outside my building. I was carrying groceries from my car when I saw him leaning near the walkway. He looked thinner, or maybe just less polished. No expensive sweater. No family man performance. Just my older brother with anger sitting heavy on his face. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. He stepped closer. You ruined my life over one Christmas argument. I shifted the grocery bag to my other hand. No, I stopped funding your life after years of lies. You think you're so clean, he snapped. You loved being needed. That hit closer than I wanted it to. Maybe because part of it was true. I had liked being useful. I had liked believing I was the quiet person keeping children safe and parents calm. I had liked having a role, even if no one acknowledged it. But being needed is not the same as being loved. I loved thinking I was helping, I said. That's different. My kids are suffering. Then tell them the truth. His eyes narrowed. They're children. They already know pieces of it, I said. Dylan knew enough to ask at Christmas. His mouth tightened at Dylan's name. I continued. They're already suffering from your version. Try giving them something honest. He laughed once, bitterly. Easy for you. You get to walk away. I walked away after you told me there was no room for me at a table I helped keep in your house. That was one comment. It was a public summary of a private arrangement, I said. You told people I was broke. You told them I borrowed from you. You mocked me while Melissa tracked my payments in a spreadsheet. Mom and Dad knew enough and stayed quiet. Don't shrink it down to one comment, because the consequences got bigger than the insult. For a moment, he looked like he might actually hear me. Then he said, so what do you want? You want me to crawl in the group chat? Tell everyone my little brother bailed me out. I want nothing from you that has to be dragged out. That's not an answer. It is, I said. If you want any relationship with me, you tell the truth without turning yourself into the victim. If you don't, then we're done. And money? No. He stared at me. No, he repeated, like the word was new. No money. Not if you apologize. Not if mom cries. Not if dad gives a speech. That part is over. His face changed then. The anger stayed, but something underneath it fell. So you really are enjoying this, he said. I shook my head. That's what you need to believe, so you don't have to look at what you did. He called me a name under his breath and walked away. I did not follow him. I carried my groceries inside, put the milk in the fridge, and sat at my kitchen table for a long time without turning on the lights. I did not feel victorious. That is the part people miss when they talk about cutting family off like it is a clean, satisfying snap. It was not clean. It was grief with paperwork. It was peace that cost me the illusion that my parents would choose fairness if the facts were clear enough. It was relief mixed with the sick feeling of hearing my nephew's voice behind a repossession voicemail. By late summer, Preston and Melissa had to put the house up for sale under pressure. I do not know every detail. I did not ask. From what Aunt Carol said, they were trying to avoid a completed foreclosure, but the damage was already done. The car was gone. Their credit was hit. Relatives who used to praise Preston's sacrifice now spoke carefully around him. My parents stopped using him as the family example, at least when I was within hearing distance. Melissa eventually sent me a longer message. I should have stopped this sooner. I let Preston handle the story because it was easier, and I let you handle the bills because it was easier. I'm sorry. I did not forgive her right away. I still do not know what forgiveness would even mean in this context. But I wrote back, thank you for saying it directly. That was all I had. Preston never gave the public apology I asked for. What he did instead was post a vague message in the family chat about private struggles and people turning their backs when things get hard. Nobody reacted the way they used to. Aunt Carol wrote, private struggles don't excuse public lies. Cousin Mark sent a thumbs up to that. My mother left the chat for 3 days. It was not a dramatic victory. It was just the sound of a story losing its audience. Dylan and I found a safer way to stay in touch later, with Melissa's permission and without money attached. I took him to lunch once before school started. He was quieter than usual, picking at fries and pretending not to have questions. Finally, he said, Dad says you hate him. I don't hate your dad, I said. Are you mad at him? Yes. He nodded like that made sense. Are you mad at me? No, I told you that already. Just checking, he said. That broke my heart a little, but I kept my face steady. I told him, adults can make a mess and still love the kid standing near it. You didn't cause any of this. He looked down at his plate. I wish everyone would stop being weird. Me too, buddy. I did not explain the mortgage. I did not explain the spreadsheet. I did not turn him into my witness. We talked about school, movies, and the model kit he had finally built after Melissa found the gift bag I left behind that Christmas. He told me he had painted one piece wrong and kept it that way because it looked cooler. That lunch mattered more to me than any group chat correction. I no longer go to family gatherings where respect is conditional. My mother still tries sometimes. She sends messages around holidays with careful wording. Everyone would love to see you. I reply, I'm available for honest conversations, not performances. My father has softened in the way men like him soften when they are too proud to apologize and too tired to keep pretending nothing happened. Once, he texted, things got out of hand. I wrote back, they were out of hand long before I stopped catching them. He did not answer, but he did not argue either. As for Preston, I hear pieces. He is working through whatever financial wreckage he spent years hiding. He and Melissa are still together, though from what I understand, things are not polished anymore. Maybe that is good. Maybe they needed a life they could actually afford, even if getting there hurt. I am not happy about the car. I am not happy about the house. I am not happy that my nephew learned adults lie around dinner tables and call it peace. But I am also not sorry I stopped paying. For years, I thought I was keeping the family together. What I was really doing was paying admission to be disrespected. I was allowed to give, but not to be acknowledged. I was allowed to rescue, but not to correct. I was allowed at the table only as long as I stayed quiet about who helped keep the lights on above it. That Christmas, Preston told me real family contributes. For once, I agreed with him. So I stopped contributing to the lie. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.